Infuriating, Stephen. Absolutely infuriating. It pisses me off so much.
Stephen, right before we got on this RAWtalk, I was looking at Instagram, waiting for you and all. That's why my head was down when you were waiting for me after I logged on. But this reel really pissed me off.
Oh, God.
It's going to be a Daily Fro thing because I'm going to go off on it. But the premise is I shoot FIFA, but I did it on film.
Yes.
And then he tells you the setup, which is fine. This is great. I have no problem with you shooting film and being unique and trying something different and the way that it used to be. And then proceeds to show like 4 or 5 pictures at the end that are absolute shit. A tight picture of a coach's face, a picture of a guy sitting on the ground, a random other piece of shit photo. It's gonna be on the Daily Fro. If you haven't checked out the Daily Fro yet, there's I've done 12 episodes I think in a row. You can go over there, just look for the Daily Fro. It's on iTunes and Spotify and something box, and someone asked me to put it on. I can't put it on YouTube because then I don't want it to show up on our Frono's photo channel. So I have to maybe put it on a different YouTube channel so that it shows up in the YouTube Music app, because that's the only way to do it.
I mean, that's really the only reason we have RAWtalk on YouTube, is to go to the YouTube Music app. I hate that you have to do it that way, but that is why we do it that way.
Someone asked for it to go on iHeart. I didn't know actually people listen to iHeart.
I can't stand listening to anything on iHeart. I have to sign in every time. It's super annoying. I just think Spotify or Apple Podcasts is the way to go, but I get it. People use other platforms.
Well, I'll say that 75% of the listens from the analytics are from Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
More than Spotify, but at least we have those metrics.
It's the same with RAWtalk. Yep.
Anyway, Stephen, I'm going to save that for the Daily Fro. I'm enjoying the Daily Fro. I hope other people are, and it's a way that you guys can call me, and I've been calling a few people or text me and interact and ask a bunch of questions. But, Stephen, I have a question for you. What's your heart rate?
I was just going to say, I really like knowing your heart rate every single time. You have a pretty insane resting heart rate, by the way.
What'd you hear? The one when it was in the 50s?
Yeah, and then you're like, and I'm dead. That made me laugh.
Well, for whatever reason, it doesn't. It's usually in the 70s, but I can get it down. I just have to like.
My dad is one of those people that has a really, really slow resting heart rate. I mean, mine's pretty average, I'd say, but he can get down to like 40s or 50s, which is why he's constantly like napping every time I look over and he's on the couch. He just falls asleep anywhere.
Or that he had 6 kids. Right now, my heart says 64.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And the reason it goes up is, now it's at 62. The reason it goes up is because I'm talking fast and I'm not getting as much oxygen. So my heart has to beat a little bit to get more oxygen, I think. I don't know. I don't know how the heart works.
What is the standard resting heart rate for your age?
I don't know, dude. I think most of that stuff is bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're still basing stuff off of shit from the 1950s. It was bullshit. Someone was telling me something recently that, oh yeah, we were talking about max heart rate. And they're like, because I was telling them I hit 193 one day at squash, but was still functional, which was 10 more beats per minute than the 183 I used to max out on when I was on the bike when I first started riding. And they're like, the whole your age minus this divided by whatever is kind of bullshit because it's different for each person's physiology. Anyway, how was your week?
Good. It's hot. It's very, very freaking hot out. Right now it is.
Wait, Steven, this isn't the Daily Fro. We don't give the temperature. It's 88 degrees and my watch is lighting up.
Yeah, but the temperature matters because it's so damn hot out. It's a way above average. It's almost, I think it's going to be 100 degrees today, right?
It's going to be 102, but feel like 108.
Yeah, the heat index is going to be through the charts.
The Phillies game is today at 12:35.
Oh.
Imagine sitting out there in the sun.
Oh, brutal.
But it's funny, I was shooting down there yesterday, and by the Phillies dugout, they have air conditioning blowing through the entire dugout.
Really?
It was coming underneath the stanchion, and I was feeling it.
Ooh.
And then all of a sudden, I get a couple people tell me, oh, we see you on TV. Hi. My dad calls me. We see you on TV. My dad's like, I was eating dinner. I look up, and I was like, there's Jared. Yep, there's Jared, the only one in the first base dugout taking photos.
Wearing a purple shirt.
That's right. Inside out. Inside out purple shirt.
Inside out, yeah.
Did your swing set go over well?
Oh, yes. So that got installed on Monday, and thankfully everything went well. Took a team of 2 guys about 8 hours to put it up. It probably would have taken me 3 days or more. They did a great job, leveled it all out. Everything worked out. I was really concerned about the plot, the area that I had them put it in, not being perfectly level. I had to do a lot of grading to make that work. Rented a sod cutter over the weekend. That was a pain in the ass. A lot of physical manual labor on my end. I will say cutting out sod, easy. Getting rid of it, very, very difficult, especially when you're dealing with like 50 pounds of sod.
Why didn't you just throw it behind the shed?
Because I had probably about 600 square feet of sod that I couldn't just simply toss behind my shed.
Why don't you just throw it on the golf course and be like, I don't know where this came from?
I may or may not have done that in a hidden area. I mean, there's a lot of woodsy areas in the golf course. So I just, put it back where it belongs in nature. So
Yeah, nature.
hopefully they don't find it.
So does your daughter like it?
She loves it, but can't really play on it just because it's so damn hot out right now. But she's obsessed with the swings, still has yet to go on the slides, which is frustrating. We got this giant, swing set with like a tunnel slide and a regular straight slide, and she refuses to go on either of them. And it's unfortunate because she absolutely is obsessed with those types of tunnel slides at my parents' house, at any other playground we go to. But for some reason here, her own slide, she doesn't want to go down. So maybe one day.
Send it back.
But the swings, you put her on there and she won't get off for probably at least an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really adorable to see her eyes light up the first time she saw it. Like, she's like, my own playground, my own swing set. Oh my God. So I'm just excited for, the years down the road of her playing and doing all kinds of things on that swing set.
Like climbing to the top and falling off. And
Well, there is like a crow's nest at the top that I'm a little nervous about because it is fairly high up and it's got like a little telescope and stuff that she can look through. And she gets really nervous and scared when she goes all the way up. But it's pretty high off the ground for sure, and a little concerning.
Well, my niece and nephew, they had their swing set's gone because now they're like 11. They
Sure.
don't use it anymore. But they would climb to the top, and I'd be like, Jay, look over. He's like, meh. He's like, they fall off, they'll figure it out. That's his parenting was like, if they fall off, they're not going to do it again.
Yeah. I'm also going to have, 3-4 inches of rubber mulch put down over the next week or so when it cools down a little bit. So
You should just get glass and grind it up
Perfect.
like what we played on as
they'll
kids.
really learn then.
Yeah, like,
Not to fall.
No, so I remember in kindergarten, I fell off. Dude, I remember this distinctly falling off what seemed to be like the highest part of the jungle gym. But, this is 1985, so it wasn't, or 86, right? There wasn't it wasn't safe still, but
It was good enough.
I got pushed off because there were so many kids standing on the top of this thing. I remember slow motion, like spiraling and then landing on the wood chip. They weren't even wood chips. They were like slices of wood that stick into your body. I remember landing on that. I must have hit my head. I probably concussed myself, and then I cried. But I was like 5.
Yeah, I mean, they would just throw straight up like shredded trees back in the day, shredded bark in the playground plot areas. Now they have like specific playground mulch that is supposed to be like splinter free and stuff like that. But
What's that? That's gay? What? That's turning kids into Subaru drivers, Steven?
well, my concern now is that I'm going to have this giant area that I cut out of my lawn that's going to be used for, the playground because I'm putting everything over there. She's got this little playhouse. I got a sandbox, all kinds of stuff in this one area. But then in 10 years, what do I do? So I think I'm going to probably make that little carved out area eventually like a garden, maybe have some pea gravel, stuff like that.
That's great. Something to worry about 10 years from now. Great.
Well,
Thanks.
you got to
More
worry
than
about
10. You have 2 kids. You have one kid who's like 7 months old.
5 months.
Okay. And the other's what, 4? 3?
She's almost 3. She turns 3 in late August.
No, she's not even 3. I don't know this shit. Anyway, the other day, I was here trying to figure out what to do. I think it was a weekend because I don't do much on the weekend. But I have years ago, I bought a ton of the 8mm and super 8mm random home footage from the internets.
I remember.
To scan it. Right. And I got the Kodak scanner was sent to me.
Which was pretty cool, even though it was pretty shitty at the same time.
Well, it worked
Yeah.
until it didn't.
Good enough.
But it worked and then it stopped. And so I didn't use it.
It was cheap. It was definitely very cheap.
Yeah, it was a piece of shit that slapped Kodak on it. Well, I bought another piece of shit. This one is like called the Movie Maker Pro. It's the same exact thing, just with a different name on it. But I was like, I'm not buying the Kodak one again. I've had it for 2 years and I haven't used it. So I figured, let's set it up. Let's put a 8mm reel in here. And it was like a thicker reel, like 5 inches or so. So it takes like 40 minutes or so. I don't know. It took a while. I got it set up. I got it going. It was set. Going, I put the SD card in there and it finally finishes. It doesn't stop on its own, so you have to stop it. And I go to watch the card and there's nothing on the card.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, why not? The record button, the record light was on.
Because you have to capture it all in real time, right?
Yeah, it's real time. It's one literal frame a second. One literal frame. It goes picture, moves it. And you know how small those frames are.
Yep.
So it takes 40 some minutes to do one. And that probably gives you like 6 or 7 minutes of actual home footage. So I'm like, why didn't this work? So I go and I watch a video about a guy does a video on this thing. And it's like max SD card, 32 gigs.
Oh, yep.
But why would it accept the 256 gig card that I put in there, thinking I'm doing the right thing, and let me do it? See, this is just fucking stupid. And it didn't say SD card error.
Yeah.
It didn't say too big of capacity. It showed the recording button, but it didn't actually save at the end.
A lot of camera manufacturers are having that problem with the high-end cameras and high-capacity cards. Like now that we have 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte, even 8 terabyte CF Express cards these days, they have to do firmware updates to now allow the cameras to accept them. Even just a few years ago, you couldn't go over like 1 terabyte.
I have to start the whole process over for the one reel.
So this is just some random reel that you bought.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's Europe. I can't tell where the people are. I might have seen some goose stepping and some some flags flying. Wait, is that baby Hitler? I'm just kidding. We weren't going to talk about the baby Hitler photo that showed up in a yearbook in New Jersey. You would think maybe they run AI on this stuff these days, but they don't. Stuff always happens in yearbooks. You ever have a yearbook like in school that was recalled because someone was giving the middle finger and they made them redo it and pay for everything because they gave the middle finger?
No, never had that.
I think we had a panoramic photo done at school with one of the big panoramics of the entire class, and someone was probably in the back giving the finger, and then they make them like pay to redo the whole thing.
I don't even know where my yearbooks are. They must be at my parents'.
That reminds me of, was it myyearbook.com? myyearbook.com sold for. There was this girl, it was this affiliate. Yeah, so, okay, myyearbook.com was acquired by Quespa Corp in 2010 for $100 million.
What?
The deal consisted of $18 million in cash and $82 million in stock, founded by the Cook siblings. The New Hope, Pennsylvania-based teen social network was later rebranded to Meet Me. Yeah, so that's the reason I brought it up, because when I used to go to New Hope, not because people just don't know what New Hope is. New Hope is was the very original, very friendly rainbow flag
Subaru driving.
Yeah, but going back into the 50s and 60s, it was a safe haven mecca of art and music and theater and a lot of Subaru driving, to way to put it. It's July 2nd, so we don't have to fly the flag anymore, Stephen. Okay. It's July 2nd.
Good to know.
It's just you try to dance around it, but no, it's like a gay mecca, and it's still very gay today, like a gay haven. But New Hope was always fun to go to, and then it got like empty because everybody left, and I think people have come back to make it gayer again. And so, I mean, it's a happy place. But
make New Hope gay again.
Yeah, exactly. I just need to show up. No,
you said it. What?
I know you were thinking it. But yeah, I remember my yearbook. It was started by this high school girl, and it sold for $100 million back in 2011 in stock. Now, there's nothing that says, or it says $18 million in cash and $82 million in stock. So I wonder if it.
What was it exactly?
It was a social network.
Oh, so schools didn't use it to like format a yearbook or something along those lines?
It was a social network place for you to, I guess, put an online yearbook, but also interact and talk with people. So there's a lot of articles here.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of articles here from 2011 that are coming up because, yeah, They started it said 6-year-old startup sold for $100 million, and that was in 11. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. They started in 2005, which is literally when Facebook started.
Yeah, end of MySpace, pre-Facebook for the most part, yeah.
So I hope that stock they got, which I don't want to take too much time here, but let's look up Quesa stock, Q-U-E-S, Q-U-E.
Here we go.
Q-U-E-P.
Buckle up, everybody.
I can't see this.
Going down that rabbit hole.
ASSA Corp. It was acquired in 2020. Corporation, New York Stock Exchange is a leading developer. Okay, they have a stock ticker. I can't exactly find the price of what happened to the other social network that they joined forces with, but in 2011, obviously people were like, this could be the next Facebook and we need to go after them. I don't know. I hope those people got money. I'm going to dig in a little deeper and see if I can find them. And maybe it's a Daily Fro thing that I talk about.
I feel like 2011 is pretty late to be acquiring a social media company. I could see if it was like 2007, 6, maybe. 2008 is when Facebook went public, right? Like when they actually opened it up to everybody, not just college kids. That's when it really blew
around
up,
then.
I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2011 seems pretty late.
Well, they were growing, so they wanted to join forces, and then they went public and all this other stuff.
I never even heard, I could see if I heard of it and it was really big around this area, but that's fairly local, and I never even heard of that company.
Yep. I only heard of it because I went to New Hope.
I was still in college, too, at that time.
Well, it wasn't for you, I guess. Anyway, that movie maker thing really pissed me off. I'm going to have to start the whole thing back over again, and I probably will never do it, and it will just sit on the shelf because it just takes forever.
It'll sit like on the floor next to your desk with everything else.
It's on a bowling alley table for now until I have the boot camp.
Okay, it'll sit there until boot camp.
Well, yeah, there's 3 spots left for the boot camp. bit.ly/July 18 Fro. If you're still interested, we have a few spots remaining. Let's move on to Adobe buying Topaz Labs. Do you have information on this, Steven?
Not much besides they acquired Topaz Labs. That's really all the info out there for the most part. So you're going to now get, their denoiser, I assume, all of that, their upscaler, all of their AI tools probably built directly into Adobe Lightroom now, which will be cool. Before you had to open a plugin, edit it in there, and then come back and round trip to Adobe.
Yeah, we know my stance on a lot of noise reduction. But what I was reading about Topaz Labs, they're a 20-year-old company. They've been around a long time. Adobe acquires them because with AI, obviously the race is on for a lot of stuff. I found it more interesting that they have, if you take archival footage and they're able to clean it up, not add things that shouldn't be there, but clean up, run an algorithm that cleans up the archival footage and brings it into a place that is much cleaner is interesting.
For video.
Yeah, for video. They have those types of things. I mean, it talks about them wanting to incorporate it into Firefly and help. Basically, what I believe the marketing guy from Adobe said is we want to incorporate it so that you can use regular footage with AI footage and make it look, seamless or something. They work together. I
didn't realize that they were going to be acquiring it for other apps besides Lightroom, like Premiere. It sounds like Firefly,
everything,
that kind of stuff. Yeah,
well, they're buying the techno. I mean, they're getting the technology. Now, I draw the line that the marketing that a lot of these AI companies, not AI, but the AI is something they've added in the last couple of years to call it, but the noise reduction stuff has always been, you need to noise reduce every photo. I don't care if it's at 100 ISO, it needs noise reduction and sharpening.
And that's what Topaz is really known for, both their upscaling and their noise reduction, not as destructive as most of the noise reduction algorithms out there. Adobe has come close over the past few years at least, but Topaz has kind of always been the better one. DxO, Pure Labs, I think they're up there too. A lot of people use them, like wildlife birders.
I still look at it as these wildlife and birders do not need it. I see constantly, you're like, oh, I shot at 400 ISO and look, there's noise under the wings in the shadow. I was like, well, yeah, you raise the shadows 800%, you're going to start to see the grain. And now you're going to throw a software on top of it to try and clean it up, and all it does is smooth it out and looks like shit.
Yeah, I don't think it's just people that try to adjust low ISO images and get rid of that kind of noise like 400 or base ISO. I think it's also a lot of people who use like a combination of fast shutter speeds, slow lenses, crop in a ton, which results in even, noisier images, or they're shooting at, say, sunset or sunrise, again with a slower lens, f8 with a teleconverter or 6.3 or something like that.
Human
Not
error.
everyone can afford a 600 f4.
Human error, Steven. It's all bullshit.
I think it's a limitation of gear and what you're shooting too.
You can still get quality results without you. If you start cropping everything to the nth degree and you think that you're going to fix it with noise reduction and AI and all this bullshit, it just looks like shit.
I agree. I do think that there's a lot of people out there, though, that aren't trying to fix the entire image. I think there's a lot of people that have some serious noise and are shooting at 12,800, 16,000, shooting birds, at like 1/4000th of a second, crazy high ISO. I get that.
That's stupid on their part. They're using the wrong settings. 1/4000th of a second. You don't need to be at 1/4000th of a second for any bird. The ISO is at 12,800. Well, I don't know. Go to 1/2000th of a second and bring it down to 6,400. Go to 1,000th of a second and bring it down to 3,200.
I just know a lot of birders will use denoising for their images because of that.
No, they're using it because they've been sold an application that tells them they need it when they don't. I just think so many people get sold because, and I see this when I'm critiquing people's work and in the mentorship stuff, and I'm like, what did you do to this? Because I see that in the file name it says enhanced, and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, this just doesn't look good. They're like, well, I'm like, let me see the original. They show me the original. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. What do you think is wrong? Well, I see this. I'm like, are you zooming in 100%?
400%.
Well, yeah. I'm like, right, but now your image looks like a watercolor painting.
I've always said I'm not afraid of noise where it kind of mimics film grain. What I am afraid of or concerned with is color noise. Like back in the day with the Canons, at least, they were really known for a lot of color noise when you're shooting high ISO. And I usually would try to remove that in post by using that color noise slider in Lightroom when that was the only option. So I could see people not liking that. But if it's just simply grain with a lot of today's camera models, like they mimic more of that film grain look, I don't really mind it unless it really is something crazy like 25,600 or 51,200, some insane high ISO that really is just overwhelming the image at that point.
So when I was photographing James Blunt the last time he was here and he played the Met, and he was backstage before he was going on, there was just a couple of like blue lights randomly backstage, nothing special. And I shot at some super high ISOs, and I went into the Adobe thing and I saw what it did when it automatically corrected for the noise. But I didn't like what it did because it overdid it. So what I did is I went and did like 20%. So that it was still showing some of the grain, but cleaning it up a little bit more, because I was at like, we're talking like 30,000 plus ISO, right? Places that in R1, using the R1, it's usable. Like I could post it and it'd be fine. I wanted to see what it could do, but I did it at about 20%. Most people do it at like 80%.
You just don't want it to be distracting. When it starts to distract from the actual content or subject matter in the image, that's when it becomes a problem, in my opinion. So as long as it's not distracting, then I think it's usually fine. But when it is overwhelming the image, that's when I think denoising works. But like you said, more like 15, 20, 25%, not 100%. But I will say it's pretty good these days where it kind of utilizes that AI masking and tends to remove the grain from around the subject matter, not so much, on the face or something like that, where unless there's a lot of grain, it all depends where the grain is, the noise in the image.
Well, I'll also say that it's very similar to what we talked about when it came to when you fix the eyes, right? When you bring the eyes back. I'm like, if it gets to the point where it starts to look not real, then you've gone too far. Just pull back.
100%.
So when you do it subtly, subtle things are correct. And I know there's probably people like, but Jared, there's editing. Like, you do this, and why do you justify that? Why you can say that? It was like, well, let's talk about how they process stuff in the darkroom back in the day. We always bring up Ansel Adams, who did hundreds of corrections to his images in post. Hundreds of corrections. If you ever look at how they did the moonrise photo over the years, and you look at where he circled this and did like +3 seconds here, -2 seconds here, like you're looking at hundreds of edits that were done in the darkroom versus now the Lightroom. Everything within reason, except for cropping.
I do think too, a lot of people end up over sharpening images and not like masking the sharpening. So that usually will then lead to more noise because they're literally sharpening the entire image and then bringing out that noise even more. And then on top of that, they're using the denoiser. Now, if they mask the sharpening, I think that's where the image would look fine and they wouldn't have to use the denoising software. But because they're doing both, it just ends up being a very noisy image at the end of the day.
Well, it's probably going to be built right in and let you do it right in the RAW file this time.
Yeah, so no need for a separate app anymore, hopefully. No need to create a separate DNG and then round trip and come back in Lightroom. And because I always wondered like how non-destructive the process really was. They always claimed it was, but you're still creating a separate file. There was still a separate process in that software than say Adobe has in their own software. So now with it all being in one app, hopefully it will result in a much cleaner image at the end of the day and not having all these different processes done to it into a DNG and then process it again on top of that.
Well, so I talked about genuine fractals on Photo News Fix this week when I was talking about this story. And Genuine Fractals, for those that don't know this, was a plugin for Photoshop back in the day that would grow your images because we had low megapixels, and it was a way that it would grow it and make it higher resolution. And then you would save it as a Genuine Fractals file. And so years later, it was a proprietary file. You couldn't open it again because you didn't save it. They didn't have DNGs or anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you would save it as a Genuine Fractals, but that was a proprietary software or a proprietary file. And I used to save those. But I also never believed in the growing thing. There was this whole movement in Photoshop where people were like, okay, we're going to enlarge this to print. So you only enlarge it 10% at a time, and that is better than just growing it to the size you want to grow it in one fell swoop. And I always sat there and I said, that makes no sense. It's digital. So if I go and have the 8x12 and I want to grow it to a 24x36, they're saying, well, you do 8x12 and then you do like 12x18 and then you do this and you just constantly do that and grow it. And they're like, that's better. I was like, how? And they're like, we've done tests. I'm like, how? It's imperceptible to the eye. And so I never believed it, but it's one of those things that someone said it and then someone else was like, adopted it. And then someone else was like, yeah, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
I never saw an issue whatsoever by just going up 100% and just growing it to whatever size it needed to be.
I also wonder how much Adobe actually acquired Topaz for. Because
probably
Topaz,
stock.
I don't know if you've seen pricing, but Topaz charges a good amount for their app. I think it's like $20 a month for a personal membership. If you're a pro membership, it's $50 a month. And then for the full studio, it's like $400 a year. I don't know what that is, $70 a month, but it's not cheap. I mean, I think the standalone Lightroom version is cheaper than that just for the monthly subscription. So now all in one, that's not bad for Adobe users. Not bad at all.
So they didn't share the specifics of how much the deal was worth.
Yeah.
But Googling here, and I don't know what source this... see, this is from Reddit. So this is where we have to be careful with AI search on Google, is I've been seeing lately that there's a bunch of videos where people are like, yeah, I just typed in Reddit that I am the best photographer and my name in location, or they go on LinkedIn and they do it. And then the AI is actually searching and trolling and finding that and elevating that as the AI overview. John Smith is the best at X. Right? Because people are gaming it. So I don't know if this is coming from a Reddit post. That's why I'm giving that preface. It says Topaz Labs is a visual AI software company, was generating around $50 million in annual revenue leading up to its acquisition by Adobe in 2026. Financial analysts and community forums estimated the company's valuation or eventual buyout price to be in the range of $150 million to $500 million.
Wow.
Now, first off, that is a massive spread.
Yeah.
So it's probably a little bit of cash, but maybe it's an all stock deal because Adobe stock is actually down a little bit right now. But this might help them. But yeah, hundreds of millions. If they're doing 50 million a year, they're not going to pay 3 times annual revenue. They're going to pay more.
I mean, again, in that wildlife and birding community, Topaz was massive. I will say it kind of shifted when it started using AI in a lot of their software. I think people started to kind of go towards DxO's Pure Lab denoising for a lot of that stuff. But Topaz has been a big name for many, many years. And now that Adobe owns it, I mean, that's a pretty big win for them for sure. And for photographers that use Adobe. But I know people are saying the other thing like, oh, Adobe, screw them. Now they own everything.
I can't stand the screw Adobe things. I've been supporting that since Lightroom 1.0.
Same.
And before that, it was Photoshop. Now, I can't say supporting because by supporting, I mean getting a disc from someone that was burnt with a cracked code for using it. I couldn't afford $800
Remember
in college.
the code generators you could download?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to use them all the time. What?
All the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it. And now I pay it every fucking month. I pay for you, I pay for me, I pay for Dan, and I
it's
guess
not
I pay
cheap.
for Austin.
I will say that's the one thing. It is pretty expensive, especially if it's not a discounted deal.
No, it's like $74 a month or so. It's expensive.
But the trick is, if you threaten to basically cancel your membership, they tend to come around and offer a discount. And you could do it pretty much almost every year. Just threaten to quit.
The best was when you said that they gave an offer. They're like, oh, we see that your company has 4 users. It would be better if you became a business user and it's $100 a month a user.
It'd be even more.
I was like, that's more expensive, you dumb fuck.
Why would we do that?
Yeah. Like, we're going to keep individuals and I'll just keep paying for it. It's the cost of doing business.
It is.
It's one of those things that, again, people don't realize there's a lot of expenses that go into running a business like this. It's cost of doing business, but you have to do it.
And we need the full Creative Cloud suite for the most part because I am constantly round tripping and using the dynamic linking, I think is what Adobe calls it, between Lightroom, Photoshop, Lightroom Classic, Audition, After Effects, Premiere Pro, everything. Acrobat. Like we're constantly using. Really, I just don't use the graphic design apps like the InDesign.
Yeah.
I don't use those, but for the most part, I use a good amount of their apps. Even Bridge every once in a while.
You know what's interesting with the whole AI stuff that's been the last couple of years and everything's been AI this, and like generative AI. Like, I'm not going to make any of those posters anymore because they just look stupid now because everybody's doing the same thing. And every time you see a thumbnail on YouTube that has a specific type of text, you're like, they used AI.
I know.
It's using the same exact shit for everybody, and that's why you don't see us using it because it looks terrible.
Unless it's a boot camp poster.
Well, I'll use it to generate. No, I said I'm not going to do that anymore.
Oh.
I'm done with that. I did it just to piss people off because it was just
Did
like,
you though?
Yeah. Well, I thought it looked good at the time. Actually, my poster for the upcoming boot camp, I think looks pretty good. But you know what I think is happening here is the honeymoon phase has worn off with all the tools that you play around and do things with. And people are going to rely less and less on the generative AI of like the basic stuff. And I think it's moving and transitioning into a world where we figure out how we work hand in hand with AI to help us with tasks that might have taken longer for us to personally do, but now become additive and supportive of what we do. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 cases that I can think of right now. One is I had no idea that Ben Affleck created an AI company and then he sold it to Netflix. And 2, Google and A24 just signed a deal to work together. Now people are like, well, does that mean that A24 is going to start making movies that are just AI generated? And the thing that they're working together with Google, at least this is what they say, I'm not fully naive, is that they're working on building tools that are helpful for filmmakers and creators. Another case in point is that Martin Scorsese did a hit for a storyboarding AI software. And it shows him talking and being like, well, I had to draw all this stuff out in the past, and it was harder to get my vision out to show how I want to shoot it. Now, I'm like, it's a Scandinavian road. No, make the road wider. It has a 1950s vehicle. Okay, not that vehicle. Make it this color, right? So starting to use it for storyboarding, where it's going to save time in the creation process, but also lead to making allowing you to do what you do, which is shoot the content and create.
100%. I mean, I've always said that it's more, a tool in my arsenal, a tool in my tool belt that helps me shape better images. But at the end of the day, it's not creating the image itself.
It's additive to what we do. It's supportive of what we do. It's making what we do slightly easier. And will it take away jobs from certain sectors? Of course.
And back to seeing the same type of text and fonts and that kind of stuff on banner ads and whatever these days. I'm in a lot of like Facebook groups for my local town, and I see a lot of local companies promoting their brand, their company with like an AI generated banner or ad. I tend to just not even I ignore all of that. I almost go towards the person's ad that looks like shit and looks like they created it, but at least they tried, they attempted to. Clearly they're not a designer. I tend to almost go towards them now instead of like an AI generated, more professional looking ad.
Yeah. No, I think obviously the cream rises to the top. You still need to be creative. You still need to be good at what you do. But what I was saying is it going to take jobs away from certain sectors? And the answer is always yes. But it's the same thing as saying when Adobe came around with Lightroom, that made it easier to edit on the computer. And then you didn't need the darkroom, developers anymore, right? Or Squarespace, as we always say, comes along and gives you a easier way to make a website, where it used to be a pain in the ass that I had to go contact some random guy that I found to go do coding and have to do 2 weeks and pay him to do. Yeah, it took away that gig, but it made it much easier for me and you adapt. You have to adapt or die.
I am surprised, though, that the film industry is accepting some of these AI tools just because it is taking away a ton of jobs in that industry.
Also, the money is not as good in the industry at the moment. Yeah. Right? You know what pissed me off? I mean, other than everything, other than waking up in the morning, the Back Rooms and the other movie. What was the other movie? Obsession. That one of the people that worked on Obsession put out a video that they are upset and disappointed at the amount of money they got paid, and therefore they should take part in the back end because of the success of the movie. And it's well, you took the job and you got paid the rate that you got paid for a small budget film, and the small budget film so happened to take off. How is that any different than you did a low budget film that did nothing? So as the guy says, I forget his name already, as he said, he's just we took the risk. We put in our own money. We did this. And yeah, they took money from other places too. But those are the companies that take the risk and they reap the reward and the benefit.
Yep.
Now, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they did a movie recently with Netflix, and they worked out a deal with their entire crew that was if this is a success and hits these metrics, this is what happens. There are bonuses that happen for back end because you're participating, but you are making an investment because you are taking less up front in the hope that it does better in the long term.
That was for The Rip, right? On Netflix.
I never saw it. Was it good?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I think if you're into those types of action movie, there was a good, somewhat of a twist at the end, I will say. So I at first I'm this is very generic. I don't love it. And then towards the end, it kind of hit me with something that I didn't expect. So I thoroughly enjoyed it for the most part. But I do really like what they did with their crew, how they all kind of reap the benefits if it does well.
That reminds me of something we've talked about before, where Twins, the movie, ended up making Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito a shit ton of money. I'll read you the quick AI overview of this. So it talks about Twins was a massive box office hit, grossing over $216 million. That was in 1988, by the way, against a modest production budget of roughly $15 million to $18 million. Now, because Universal Pictures was terrified of casting an action star Arnold Schwarzenegger in his first major comedy, Schwarzenegger co-starred with Danny DeVito and director Ivan Reitman, agreed to forego their traditional upfront salaries in exchange for a collective 40% ownership of the film's back-end profits.
Wow.
This famous gamble paid off spectacularly, netting Schwarzenegger over $40 million, making it the single largest individual paycheck of his entire cinematic career.
Wow.
See, they believed in the project and invested in themselves and reaped the reward of it. Could you imagine getting 40% of a back end? Because I can tell you that Obsession certainly didn't get 40% of the back end. right? They signed a deal. They got like 14 or $15 million up front. And I guarantee you that if it hit, I think they said if it hits 200 and some million dollars or $300 million, they end up getting maybe like 1 or 2% of something. So there's still more money, but it only accounted for maybe a couple million. And yes, a couple million is still a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, a movie that does over 300 some million dollars and you get the initial 15 to get your money back plus some, and then end up back end that you're not making that much. Yeah, that's why having ownership of this shit is super important today. And that puts us in a very interesting place because I've been on the side of it where we've got Born to Bowl. So I've learned a lot of understanding of how the Hollywood world works with that and percentages because I see all the back end. I get it. I understand how it works. But now I know what to ask for going forward. Or I know to put up more of my own money up front and make sure that the percentages are much higher when you go and sell it to somebody else so that you can reap a higher reward. But you are taking a risk.
Bringing it back around to Backrooms, I mean, it seems like it's this resurgence of like the indie film is now kind of like the Blair Witch Project, how that kind of started the Renaissance era of like the independent film now becoming a blockbuster. It's starting to be like that with YouTubers or indie films in general these days. It's starting to now make it into theaters or at least at home, and they're making a big splash with a minimal budget.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it works. And it's actually died down a little bit. Finally, we don't hear as much about all the YouTubers being brought and brought in to do these projects for now. And then we'll see if it can continue on. Mm-hmm. But I just saw Backrooms did over $300 million on the $10 million budget.
Wow,
and I think
really?
I think Obsession had a smaller budget. One of them had a smaller budget. Let me see.
I do really want to see Backrooms. I don't know much about Obsession.
So Obsession had a $750,000 to $1 million budget and has done over $374 million worldwide.
Oh my God.
So
wow.
So for that person to come out and complain that they deserve to they should get back end because it did really well. It's like, no, you took the job. Their budget was $750,000. You got paid a whatever the rate was. You accepted it and you did it. It just turns out that the thing skyrocketed.
Man, whoever took that risk and invested in that movie, whew, they are reaping the benefits for sure.
Yeah, it's I think Focus or who it was one of the distributors took the risk and did it. So it's just showing me more and more that we believe in what we do, and if you can find the community, you can build the community, you can benefit. It's not all about money, but it's also really nice when you can make a lot of money.
It's also like playing the lottery, though. I mean, it is a major gamble, and I would say it's not very easy to achieve something like this for sure. Not like anyone can do it.
On a smaller like scale, let's talk about when I did the Frono's Photo Guide to Getting Out of Auto in 2011 and 12 when we filmed it, and then when I started selling it. You know, that has generated probably close to $2 million since the day it came out. I mean, that's a pretty interesting thing for the investment that was made there. And do you know who didn't get a lot of back end on that? And reminded me for a long time?
Todd.
There was no back end to be had. We spent $7,500 to shoot that thing.
Which was all the money you probably had at the time.
I didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money.
Again, major risk.
$7,500, and then it cost me like another $7,500 for Todd to edit it. Like, not a bad investment. Like 15 grand in on that. Now, mind you, I did take care of Todd when we went ahead and did the Frono's Photo Guide to video and shooting video and editing. He benefited from that.
Well, he was also the host for that, or at least half of
a co-host for that.
Yeah, co-host.
I still paid for the shooting, and it got more expensive because we had to hire more people, and he knew what I ended up making on the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, that is it. There was no back end there. There was no percentages. That could have been a possibility, I guess, but I wouldn't have done it because it's just like you're still better off as a business or a company in a lot of situations investing in yourself and not owing anybody any money.
100%.
Any back end like that. Let's move on to an update on the FX5 rumor. You have an update on that, Steven?
Just a quick one, not much info, but they are now saying it's going to be about a 16 megapixel sensor, which is kind of what we thought after doing the math. We don't know if that's the native sensor resolution or if it's a higher resolution sensor that then downsamples to 16 megapixel, kind of like how they have that in the FX3 and the A7S III sensor, how it's really kind of like a 48 megapixel sensor, downsampling to like a 12 megapixel file, and will be global shutter or not. We will see. And then again, they kind of confirm that it's going to have open gate 5K, 3:2 aspect ratio, like we mentioned before. The other new stuff that's here is that they're saying it's going to have a triple base ISO, and it will have XOCN internal RAW. And the triple base ISO will be a first in Sony cameras, by the way. We've seen it before on like Canon cameras. The C80, the R1 has a triple base ISO, so that'll be really interesting. Hopefully it'll be like 800, 3200, and something like 12,800. That's a really nice sweet spot to be in for that triple base ISO. And then if you're not familiar, XOCN, that is Sony's proprietary 16-bit RAW codec that's used in their flagship cinema cameras, like their Venice series and the Burano. XOCN stands for Extended Original Camera Negative. Also, with internal RAW, will Sony finally upgrade to like a 4.0 CF Express A card slot for faster transfers? I think they're going to stick with A. I really do. I think they're going to stick with CF Express A forever, pretty much.
No, that's typical Sony.
But 4.0 will be obviously significantly faster than the 2.0 card slots that they have right now.
Still more expensive, still a little slower, not as fast.
Incredibly expensive, and yes, not as fast as CF Express B, but at least it will keep up, hopefully, with that new RAW codec. And that's just a guess on my side.
Yeah, a bunch of people I've talked to, again, I checked with them. They're like, I'm buying that camera. It doesn't matter what it is, I'm buying it.
I think this competes more with something like the C80 than the R6V or the C50.
You will have to see what the price point is, but yeah, it's probably $5,000.
If I had to guess, we talked about this last week, it's probably somewhere around that price point.
Yeah.
Because again, it's almost $4,000 for a current FX3, and then the FX6 is almost $7,000, and you need to be in between.
All right, so what's the other rumor that's floating around there on the Sony Alpha rumors?
And then the other rumor is the RX10 Mark V is coming. They're saying it will be a very minimal update with a new chip for faster processing and better AF and the Z battery. He says it will keep the same sensor and a 24 to 600 millimeter lens, the same one that was in the original RX10 Mark III, going back 10 or 11 years at this point. And obviously the same one from the Mark IV.
That's old.
Very old. It's been 9 years since we've seen the Mark IV, and again, even longer since the Mark III came out. It had a 24 to 600 2.4 to f4 lens with a stacked 1-inch sensor. That was that same sensor from like the RX100 series that we loved.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a 2.7x crop factor on a 1-inch sensor, so the equivalent would be something like an f6.3 to f11 in terms of like background blur equivalent. In terms of exposure, it's going to be the exact same, but background blur, you're still going to have a very deep background, something like an f6.3 to an f11 lens.
Yeah, think tiny sensor with massive zoom.
Yep.
Equals not photos that you would expect from a professional camera or even just a crop sensor camera. Even the most basic A7600, do they have a A6700? Just think about that. Like that sensor is so much bigger than a 1-inch, and you put a good lens on that, or even any lens, you're still going to end up getting better results than a camera like this. But what it seems like this camera is very similar to what Nikon did with the P9000, was it? P900?
P1000, and now it's the P1100.
Oh, all right.
It might have started with the 900. I don't recall, but
we did a video on that, and it's super popular just because it had that we could see Saturn.
Now, keep in mind that had an even smaller sensor on it. I think that was like a 1/2.3 inch. I don't even know how you say that, but a very tiny sensor, similar to that of a smartphone. And because of that, it had a 6x crop factor on the lens. So
what?
It was a 3,000 millimeter equivalent lens. So yeah, you could zoom in on Saturn or the moon and get some really cool images. But the issue was it was a 2.8 to f8 lens, which was equivalent to like an f16 to 22 in terms of like background blur.
I could see the separation of Saturn from the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was still pretty cool. I didn't realize that was such a small sensor compared to the 1-inch sensor, even though the 1-inch sensor is still small unto itself.
The P1100 or the P1000, the one that we used, which I think the 1100 was the exact same one, except it had like USB-C now and some slight upgrades, but for the most part, it was the exact same guts. The thing I didn't like about that camera is it was just so slow, if you recall. Like it felt like I would like touch the screen and it would take a second to kind of lag and finally do what I wanted it to do. The processing just was very slow. Even taking photos took a second to like write to the card. Everything was slow, but you got some really cool, interesting images out of it just because of that insane range for the lens.
Yeah, that was more like a cell phone camera with a big lens.
Glorified smartphone in a camera body for sure.
And I guess that this, with a 1-inch sensor, is like a glorified point and shoot just with a massive freaking lens.
Yeah, so you at least have 1 inch here, which is obviously smaller than APS-C, but it's not nearly as small as the one in the P1100. So I'll take that. But it is a very old sensor. It's the same stacked 20-inch one that we saw how many years ago, introduced, I think, with the RX100 series.
20 megapixels, you meant.
Didn't I say 20 megapixels?
Yeah, you said 20-inch. That'd be a pretty big sensor.
20 megapixels, but
yeah.
But it is stacked. And I think it had a pretty fast readout speed. I think it was like 6 or 7 milliseconds.
Still like a 10-year-old technology and a 10-year-old plus lens. But the way that I think I can look at it is that if this is true and this is real, that this is for the people that just want a big zoom, want 24 to 600, one thing, take pictures that are better than their cell phone and call it a day.
Yeah, I just can't really see someone that knows what they're doing and wants quality images getting this camera, but I do think it's kind of for that demographic that you're saying. The reason I'm saying that is because it's so expensive. I think the RX10 Mark IV came out at like $1,700, and this is back in 2017 or 2018. When you do the inflation calculation on that, it comes to around like $2,300 today. So it was a very expensive camera for then, and it probably will still be a very expensive camera today when the RX Mark V comes out, if it does come out. I'd rather personally probably buy an A7 V, but we'll see how much it costs.
Yeah. And if it's real, we hope to get our hands on it to run it through its paces and tell you like it is, how it is, because that's what we do.
And the cool thing about the old one too, is that it borrowed a lot of features from like the A9 and the A7 III, but again, it was more in that like compact one, all-in-one, like, lens camera body. It was great for people that didn't really know what they're doing, but they wanted like some cool features and good zoom range. But it did have the old battery, the old Sony menu, the old Alpha system in general. The question is like, will it be updated to what the A9 III has? Like, will it have pre-capture, speed boost, AI processor, a 4-axis screen like all the latest Sonys? Will it have all of those new features? And because of that, will it be even more expensive? We'll see.
We'll see. According to the rumors, it says July 9th. So if July 9th comes and this gets announced, we'll have to figure it out.
I could see this camera for like someone like your dad.
I don't know. Someone just asked me, like, what's going on with your dad? He hasn't done the learning with Len, the shooting. Did he keep up with photographing birds? And
yeah,
the
what
answer
happened
is,
with that?
well, he moved, and there aren't as many birds in his side yard now at the new place. But, I need to talk to him and see if he wants to go take walks and look for birds with a camera. I kind of handed him an R3, and that was a little fun because the autofocus was good. But yeah, maybe he could do this and just point, because it seems to be a camera just like, look, showing Lilith your bird photo. Lilith, look what I got, Lilith. It's a photo of a bird. That's supposed to be an old person, by the way.
I figured.
It was really bad.
What do you mean? What do you mean this is a picture of a bird?
Ernie.
It's a mockingbird. What do you mean it's a mockingbird? What do you mean it's a mockingbird? It's a mockingbird. What? Are you mocking me? 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 Are you mocking me?
It sounds like Cartman trying to be a girl talking to Bernie Sanders.
No, it's Howard Stern's dad.
What do you mean?
And then his mother is, Howard, why is there yucks in your pants? What is all of this going on? I could do Cartman. Hey, fuck you, Jew.
Oh, Jesus.
Isn't that what he said?
He talks to Kyle that way, yes.
Hey, Kyle. Ma, Ma, can I get a PlayStation?
Please?
Ma, get the door! Stupid kitty. Anyway.
Chicken pot pie.
I have not watched a South Park in a long time.
Still holds up.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I could see your dad liking something like this just because of that incredible zoom and just, being easy to use. You just point and shoot, literally. It's a giant point and shoot camera.
Yeah, well. All right. One of the things I also want to talk about is I went to see Brandon at Alan's Camera the other day and to do a Fun to Photographer thing there. I did speak about this on the Daily Fro in more detail, so you could go check out that episode. It's called I've Forgotten What It's Like. And it's the June 30th Daily Fro. But the basic premise, if you're not going to go listen to that show, and I would appreciate if you did and subscribed and all that so you could auto-download all the new episodes, is Brandon at Alan's Camera, I talked to him about Fun to Photographer. He wanted to get involved, and I told him that we had all of these R5s come in and all of these R6s come in, but what we don't have are EF to RF adapters. And he said, how many do you need? I asked him, I said 25 would be a great start, and he offered to purchase 25 of them to donate to Fun to Photographer.
Wow.
So he did that, and then I also helped a kid. I graduated a kid from a DSLR to a mirrorless. I surprised him, and Austin was there to film it, so we'll have a video coming out about that as well. But I should also mention that from July 3rd to July 6th, Brandon at Alan's Camera at allenscamera.com is offering a 10% off code on all used gear. So use the code FRO at checkout to get 10% off all of your used gear that you purchase at allenscamera.com from the 3rd through the 6th. Now, if you missed the deal, like send Brandon an email or call them and tell them the Fro sent you. Or if you ever go buy anything from Alan's, or anytime you buy something, leave a comment that you bought from the Fro sent me, or when you go to the store, say the Fro sent me. We're going to keep track of all that stuff again.
I'm actually looking on the website right now. You can easily shop for used gear on the website. It's really cool.
Yeah. What's there? Anything good?
Well, your favorite, Lumix S12.
Oh, perfect. Now, sold, 10% off, code FRO.
Oh, there's an A75 used.
Really? How much?
$2,500. Save
How much is that new?
$300? I think $2,800.
All right. That's and then you get 10% off. That's another $250.
Nikon Z5 II, that's $1,350. There's an R6 Mark III. There is an S1R2 from Lumix. There's an R8 for $1,150.
That means you save another $110.
Yeah, not bad.
Yep. Support them. They're a mom and pop. They help us. Thank you, Brandon, for doing that with Fun to Photographer. And yeah, the sale ends on the 6th. Code FRO at checkout for 10% off. And Daily Fro is still cranking away over there. Like I said, I may not do it every single day if I don't have something to talk about, but I do appreciate those who have listened to it. It's built nicely. We're having a nice little group of people that are listening every single day. And I hope you become one of them. And even if you don't listen every single day, you could probably load up on a few of them on a long drive. Or if you listen to it at 2x, it's going to go much faster.
Have you skipped a day yet?
No, I haven't skipped a day yet. I debated doing that yesterday.
Yeah.
But I still did one. But now it depends on what pisses me off for the day or makes me happy. But now I have a topic
Always
to
something to
talk
talk about.
Well, it depends on the time of day. Sometimes the idea strikes me early in the day and I just do it. Other times I know I'm busy, and then at the end of the day I come back before I go home to go to bed and I record something, and it all depends on what's on my mind at that time. All right, I got to get to work. You got to get to work. We're going to end it right there, guys. You could you could text us at 313-710-9729, 313-710-9729. If you ever want me to give you a phone call randomly, just put your phone number in that text message that comes through so I can know that you want to be talked to on the phone, and I'll call you. I did try to call someone from Canada. They didn't answer last night, so screw you guys. All right, thank you guys very much for listening. Jared Polin, Fro knows photo.com. See ya.
Bye.